I know I said this before, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it again. They say that the mech shall inherit the earth, and this deck is definitely the definition of it. It's a really good deck that has so many variations, I think it'll blow your mind. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you multiples. I'm the Cali Effect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then want to destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. Also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. Also, mad shout out to our newest Patreon, Ricky Brown. Welcome to the clan. I've already talked to you. You've already added yourself to the Discord. So while we're there, make sure everybody else adds yourself to the Discord so you guys can talk to everybody that we have there. So many awesome people. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Mech Knight deck profile for this format. We're not only going to give you just a straight deck profile, we're going to give you guys a budget options and alternative strategies that you could be playing with this deck. Okay guys, so on to the stats of Mech Knight. This deck is actually really fun to play. It's really good. The ability to just gain advantage off of your opponent playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an interesting concept that this deck has. So with that being said, you more often than not want to go second with this deck, but there are some ways to play around it if you're forced to go first or if you feel that the matchup would predicate you going first. It's a really good deck, really fun. But let's start talking about the cards inside of it so I can get you guys better acclimated. All of the combos, quote unquote, require your opponent to actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! So we're not really going to have that much of a combo tutorial, but I am going to be able to go in depth on the cards that you can and the cards that you probably shouldn't play. Starting off with the monsters, we run 3 copies of Mech Knight Purple Nightfall. Now this card is really good, but before we get into that, let's start talking about the Mech Knight monsters and themselves. They all have a clause, well, except for the normal monster, that if there are 2 cards in the same column that these cards occupy, or that these cards could occupy, you can special summon them. So for example, if I have a monster in my extra monster zone, as well as a spell and trap card in the same column, I can summon this Mech Knight monster to my side of the field. But the best thing about these Mech Knight monsters is that they work with your opponent's cards. If your opponent has cards in the same column in extra monster zone or even same column in monster zone, you can special summon these bad puppies to your side of the field, and it is a free summon. You can literally think of these cards like Cyber Dragons, except even more free because they have effects that will get you more advantage. What this one does is that you can banish one Mech Knight monster you control to add a Mech Knight monster from your deck to your hand. Now this card actually returns to your side of the field during the end phase, or during the next standby phase, so you can put it wherever you want to afterward, and you can even summon it on your opponent's turn and gain its effects to banish itself to search a Mech Knight monster. Next is 3 copies of Mech Knight Blue Sky. Now this card, if you were able to resolve its effects successfully, you're probably going to win the game. What it does is that you can add Mech Knight monsters with different names up to the number of monsters in your up to the number of cards in your opponent's column that this card occupies. So if your opponent has a monster in the extra monster zone, the main monster zone, and the spell and trap card zone in the same column, you're going to be able to search 3 Mech Knight cards, which normally means you're going to win the game because you'll have so much advantage and just be able to plow through your resources. This deck, again, is built on going second, and if your opponent does, mindlessly do that, then yeah, you're going to have enough advantage to be able to put some resources on the board to go for game. Next is 2 copies of Mech Knight Indigo Eclipse. This is actually one of my favorite Mech Knight monsters because what it does is that it can move a Mech Knight monster from a zone on the field to another zone. It's really good for when you want to summon up free monsters to your side of the field, such as itself, move it to another zone, and then special summon another Mech Knight monster, or if you're just trying to manipulate the way your Mech Knight monsters are for certain card effects. Next is 1 copy of Red Moon. What this card does is that it allows you to destroy a monster in the same column, and then Mech Knight Yellow Star, which allows you to do is to destroy a spell or trap card in this card's column. Now these guys aren't necessarily great, but they are Mech Knight monsters with different names that you can add with Blue Sky, and also, I mean, their effects could come in handy. Destroying monsters or spells and traps in this card's or in the same card's column could actually mean something in the later game states. Next, that's pretty much it for the Mech Knight monsters. We're on no other Mech Knight cards, Mech Knight monsters. Avram's really good, and I'll be able to show you guys in like a budget option why it would work, but the other Mech Knight monsters are subpar if you ask me. The normal summons that we do play might confuse you guys because we don't play an invoked engine, and I'll be able to explain why. 2 copies of Phantom Sky Blaster. This card is just Wow, it's really good. The deck doesn't really need its normal summon, so when you start popping off with your Mech Knight monsters to your side of the field, Phantom Sky Blaster fulfills two roles. First of all, it can actually bring out a token which can make a monster in your extra monster zone, and then you occupy a card in your spell and trap card zone so you can special summon a Mech Knight monster for free. And secondly, it's really good for OTK. It allows you to put extra tokens to your side of the field. If you already have a Mech Knight monster, you can put 2 more tokens, which allows you to get into Borrelsword fairly easily. It also allows you to go into link plays, whether you're going to Cerberus, Unicorn, Phoenix, to manipulate your opponent's board, destroy their cards. And then another thing is that it's a dark monster, which actually comes up in this particular build. Next is 2 copies of Denko Sekka, so I've pretty much given up the invoked engine in this particular build, so I can either A, stop my opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh, or B, OTK my opponent. I felt that the Mech Knight engine is still really good. I'll be able to show you guys as an alternative option what I would personally play, but there is a lot of back row heavy decks, and I just want to Denko Sekka them, because if you can Denko Sekka a back row heavy deck, they're locked into wherever it is. You can summon your Mech Knight monsters accordingly, and then more often than not, you can just win the game outright just with Denko Sekka and your Mech Knight monsters. Next is 2 copies of Radian, the multi-dimensional kaiju. Once your opponent realizes that you're playing Mech Knights, they're going to want to like set up some really awkward spaces. Like they're going to want to put some cards here, some cards here. Some decks don't have a choice. Some decks, you know, have to go into extra monster zone. They have to play multiple cards face down, so the odds of them hitting those 2 cards in the same column, making your life free, is pretty easy. But this card actually does fulfill multiple purposes. First of all, it's a dark monster, and we play a lot of light monsters. So I didn't want to run the light kaijus because I already played enough light monsters. And then secondly, it does fuel for your chaos plays. The next thing is that it's great against Sky Strikers, obviously, because you contribute a card and they can't like Widow Anchor you. You pretty much don't even need Denko Sekka. You pretty much already won in that instance, because you can OTK him from there on out. But the next most important thing is that you can choose the zone that this card goes to. So if your opponent is playing that mind game, trying to put those monsters where you don't want them to be, you kaiju them and you like, no, I want this card in this zone, and this is how we're going to do it. It's essentially effective for those decks that love, you know, to just spread out monsters and put cards in zones that you don't care about. You put it in a spell and trap card zone, and then you summon your Mech Knight monsters and gain their abilities. Next is 2 copies of BLS. This is a card that a lot of players don't see coming in a Mech Knight build. And to be honest, there is one card that inspired this whole entire deck. I have to give a mad shout out to my boy Jest. He was actually talking about it in the Discord about this hand trap that made the, like, you know, was really good in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was like, Mech Knights actually work with this card in the main board, so I decided to do that. But BLS is just stupid good. We play enough light and dark monsters. Every single monster in this deck is either light or dark, so the ability to summon BLS is fairly easy. It's a great going second card. It gets rid of threats. It attacks twice. This plus Borrelsword is, you know, it doesn't even matter if your opponent has monsters. More often than not, it's still game. It's just a really good card. I wouldn't go over 2. I guess you could probably try for 3, but I wouldn't go over to 3 because opening BLS is good. Opening 2 BLS is possible to play, but it's like, I really don't want to. Next is 2 copies of Thanos, Fanatical Dragon, Phantasme. To be honest with you guys, I'm only running this card because it's the best hand trap in the game. It's $90 right now, so I understand if you can't afford it. DD Crows are amazing. Feck Veilers, amazing. Those light and dark monsters, Ogre, are amazing. You can run those instead. I'm running this card because it allows me to fix hands, it prevents my opponent from targeting me, and it allows me to basically pop off. Like in the Sky Striker matchup, I have the Kaijus, I have the Denkos, and I have the Fanatical Dragon, so there's not really much they can do. That matchup is really hard, or a lot easier for me because I play the cards to allow me to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or prevent my opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And just the fact that this guy can summon himself to the side of the field and say, hey, my monsters can't be targeted, it allows me to pop off with my Mech Knight monsters. He's a dark monster. He's just insanely good. Next is 2 copies of Iron Dragon Tamaya's, and this is the guy of the hour. Basically, you are going, more often than not, you're going to pop this card off because your opponent's not going to expect it. What it does is if 3 cards occupy the same column, you can special summon this card to the side of the field. Now, it doesn't have to be where the 3 cards occupy. It can be wherever you want to, but it can special summon itself to where 3 cards are for anywhere on the field, as long as 3 cards occupy 1 column. What it does after that is that it destroys all cards in this card's column. And then after that, that card's column can't be used. So if you have 3 cards occupying 1 column, you summon this card to your opponent's or extra monster zone, or where their extra monster zone would occupy, and you can literally lock down their ability to summon from the extra deck. I wanted to play 3 copies of this card. It just didn't feel like it had come up too much. And then again, the best thing is you can have 2 cards occupy a column, and then your opponent can have a card occupy a column, and you can just pop this card on your side of the field and ruin their column. Now, as you guys can see, we're not playing any traditional hand traps. We're not playing Ash Blossoms. We're not playing Ghost Ogres and stuff, mainly because in this particular build, I want my opponent to be able to make boards. I'm here to break them, not necessarily prevent you from making them. I want you to make that board so I can summon my Mekk-Knight monsters and gain advantage off of you. And I tried to avoid that, but sometimes you just need the Tamiyating your opponent. I would actually recommend playing 3 copies if you don't have the Fanatical Dragon, and probably 3 copies of this card. The last card, this is the reason why I built the deck. Again, mad shout out to Jess. We like, oh, this is a really good hand trap, and I'll be able to explain to you guys why. 2 copies of Watt Kinetic Puppeteer. So, me and Jess were talking about this card, and it's really good against Guard Dragons. Because when your opponent is like playing Crusadia Guard Dragon, and they go like Spatha and Elpi, what you do is you activate Watt Kinetic Puppeteer, and then move the Elpi into the farthest zone you can, so it doesn't point to anything, and that's their turn. They you know, it's really hard for them to recover with that. You can only summon Elpi once per turn, and it's kind of in a really awkward spot for them to take advantage of. Also against the even against some of the not so great matchups, even against Sky Strikers, actually it's still good against Sky Strikers, because you can move the Sky Striker monster from their extra monster zone to the main monster zone, which is not good for them. Altergeist, it's probably one of the matchups that doesn't come up the most, but then when you start to think about it, you can move where their Hextia points to another card to make it, you know, to their main monster zone, to make it pretty much useless. This card just comes up in so many situations. It's amazing. And the reason why I main deck it is because it's almost like Kaijus. If my opponent has a monster that I want in a specific zone, you just Watt Kinetic Puppeteer and force it to move to wherever you want to. It's just a really good card in that aspect. It's really good for disrupting those link boards, really good for stopping your opponent from doing certain things. It really doesn't have a terrible matchup no matter where you look at it, because even at worst case scenario, you can just move it to where a Mekk-Knight monster can gain its ability. So that is it for the monsters at 24. For the spells, the spell lineup is really simple. 3 copies of Mind Control. I want to snatch my opponent's card. and I was thinking about running a Sky Striker engine in here, which would be like 3 Engage, 2 Widow Anchor, and a Afterburner. But I just didn't see a reason to do it. Like, it felt like if I were just going to run a Sky Striker engine in Mekk-Knights, I just might as well run Sky Strikers, because it essentially, it didn't feel the same, but it was pretty much the same thing. And then on top of that, there are times where I do have monsters in my main monster zone, and I keep them in my main monster zone, and I can't get rid of them. So Sky Strikers would only be good going second. And then the main thing I just wanted to take advantage of was Mind Control. So, you know, the Widow Anchor, being able to Mind Control them. And you can already do that. The best thing about Mind Control is that it's not a quick play. I hate quick play spell cards in this deck, because you can set it face down to set up your Mekk-Knight summon, and then activate your Mind Control to take their card, and then pop off with your combos. 3 copies of Instant Fusion. There's only 2 fusion targets in this deck, and again, I don't care. The odds of you drawing and having to activate 3 Instant Fusion are low. Like, so don't worry about you know, playing 3 Instant Fusion with only 2 targets. I would worry about playing 3 Instant Fusion with only 1 target, but I wouldn't worry about playing 3 with 2. Next is 1 Monster Reborn. Extender, World Legacy section. This is a searchable extender in this deck. World Legacy Key is actually really good. The reason why I play this card is because it adds a banished Mekk-Knight monster from your graveyard to your hand. So the combo, a lot of the combos come about. You make Morningstar. Morningstar pitches the Mekk-Knight monster to your graveyard. You add World Legacy Key. You special summon Blackluster Soldier to your side of the field, and then you activate the key to add the pitched Mekk-Knight, and then you can summon the Mekk-Knight to your side of the field. It also, like, it's just really good. The best thing about it is that trap cards and discards in your Mekk-Knight's columns can't be activated. And if you guys haven't noticed, we're moving like a little bit more towards a trap heavy format. Your opponent wants to get off those key trap cards, so you just go key and then you summon Eclipse to your side of the field, and wherever that trap card wants to activate, you just move the Eclipse to, or move a Mekk-Knight monster to, and negate that card's effect. It's insanely powerful. Now, I wanted to run the 1 to negate spells, but if I remember correctly, the spells didn't have double usage, so I didn't want to play it. This card actually had double usage inside of the deck. 1 copy of World Legacy's Memory. This is probably like the worst Mekk-Knight card to ever exist. It's so good because excuse me, you special summon like Mech Knight, Purple Nightfall to your opponent's side of the field during their turn, and then you can use it to banish it to search, which is like amazing. But then it's trash because it says you can only special summon Mech Knight monsters for the rest of the turn. It's a quick play spell card. You guys know how I feel about quick play spell cards in this deck, and it's like, I was playing 3 at one time and it just never came up. So I do think that it does deserve at least one spot maybe, but then it's like, it's so disappointing sometimes. Next is 2 copies of Called by the Grave. I Called by the Grave, stop the opponent, hand traps, get graveyard cards, pretty good. For the traps, 1 copy of World Legacy Secret. Whoa, this card is another one of those insane cards. So first of all, World Legacy Secret is a color hunted. And immediately after reading that, I was like, shit, should I run 3? Like, it's really good because it allows you to spell summon a Mech Knight monster to your side of the field, which does combo well with World Legacy Key. But the next thing about it is that it allows you to go first, because what it says is that any monster effect in your Mech Knight card's columns effects are negated. So if you put like 3 Mech Knight monsters on the board, one of them in your opponent's extra monster, like occupying where your opponent's extra monster zone is, you're gonna have a pretty good time and a long time. It's really good at stopping monsters' opponents' effects. It gives you a first turn play and allows you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And then next we play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Now, this card is really good for the deck just because this with Iron Dragon Tamiyatin is the nuts. Iron Dragon Tamiyatin is a quick effect. So what you do is that you Infinite Impermanence to occupy 3 slots. Normally your opponent like summons an extra deck monster, and then the extra deck monster like has a link arrow pointing down like Sunlight Wolf, and then they summon a monster to it. So you Infinite Impermanence that, and then you create a 3-row column, and then you Iron Dragon Tamiyatin whatever you want to destroy cards on your side of the field. That's what's amazing, but unfortunately people can't afford Infinite Impermanence, which I understand. It's like a $90-$100 card. You can run Effect Veilers. You can run, again, I would avoid like running cards to destroy your opponent's board because you want to break it yourself. You can run Effect Veilers. You can run, I think, Typhoon is a decent budget option that can actually activate to a hand and still pop over to Tamiyatin. There's still so many options. It's not mandatory for Impermanence to be ran, but it just works so well with the deck. But that's it for the monsters and the extra deck. For the extra deck, my apologies, 1 copy of, I'll talk about that later. Borreload, Borrelsword, pretty standard. If you guys can't afford it, it's okay. Borrelsword Dragon is the reason why this deck can OTK, so you might want to think about that. If you like really want to play this deck, it OTKs really well with Borrelsword. Nightmare Unicorn, Equimax. What I've realized about Equimax is that if you can summon 2 Eclipse to this card, it's game. It'd be your supplement card if you can't afford Borrelsword, because you can put 2 Eclipse to this guy becomes really beefy. Eclipse is 2,400 attacks for 48, Quick Mouse makes him 64, and he can attack for 6,400 damage, and then you can move your Indigo Eclipses to other monster zones where he doesn't point to, and you can attack with those, which would be game. 1 Mech Knight Spectral Supreme. This card is actually really good. The Link 2 monster makes this a 2-card Link 3, and basically what it does is that when it's not pointing, let me read it just to make sure. This card can attack directly if it's the only card in its column. That's pretty good. It's a 3,000 attack directly. If this card in the extra monster zone points to no monsters, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. I'm sorry, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target it with effects. You can send 1 other card you control in this card's column to the graveyard, special summon 1 Mech Knight monster from your deck to defense position, which is, all those effects are good. I just don't know what else to say. 2 copies of Mech Knight Morning Star. When it is link summoned, it requires 1 Mech Knight monster and 1 monster that it doesn't matter. But when it's link summoned, you can discard 1 Mech Knight or World Legacy card to add a World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. Cough Cough World Legacy Session, which makes it a free, basically, spectrum. So that's pretty cool. And also, I think your Mech Knight monsters can't be destroyed by battle and you take no damage. If your Mech Knight monster battles a monster in a different column than it, your monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Yeah, I never read that effect until that actually came up in an important time. So yeah, it's a pretty decent effect. Underclock Taker, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus, Link Kribo. I run 2 Link Spiders. You can run 2 Link Kribos, 2 Link Spiders. It doesn't really matter. The extra deck from what I just showed you, other than that, doesn't really matter. And then Millennium Eyes Restrict and Thousand Eyes Restrict. Thousand Eyes Restricts makes a 2-column because you snatch an opponent's monster and it's a quick spell card, and this is the extra monster zone. And then Millennium Eyes Restrict stops hand traps. That is it for the extra deck. Now I'm going to show you guys these alternative options. A really good card that I just didn't get around to playing is Fairy Tail Luna. This card is good because In a lot of matchups, your opponent only plays like one extra deck monster, and this card can stop it. And it's 1850. It's your normal summon. It searches another one. It's just a good card. I really don't even know how to keep on explaining that this card is just really good for the deck, because you don't need your normal summon, and it provides a little bit of disruption for your opponent's cards. Next is you can run, check this out. You can run 3 of him, and you can also run the Rescue Rabbit engine. I'm playing 3 right here, but you don't have to play 3. Unexpected Die is also really good, because Mekk-Knight Avram is not only a normal monster, it's a Mekk-Knight card. So you can use Rescue Rabbit to summon 2 of these to your side of the field and start popping off with your links if you so choose. Also, if you make Link Spider with your Phantom Sky Blasters, you can special summon this to your side of the field and then start to pop off a little more. You know, it's not that bad. This plus Link Spider immediately makes your Mekk-Knight Morning Star, and then it gets you a little bit deeper into your combos, and the Rescue Rabbits are a good starter card. The last engine you guys could play is a pretty fun engine. I decided to go against it just because I wanted to see what pure Mekk-Knights can do. And to be honest with you guys, I was really frustrated with that Thunder Dragon video, so I wanted to make a Chaos deck, and I was like, whoa, this deck actually works really well with Chaos. So, but you definitely, this is still a very valuable option. 3 copies of Magical Meltdown, 1 Book of Law, that card's actually good. 2 copies of Invocation, and then 3 Alistair the Magical, or Alistair the Invoker. Now, this obviously requires you to change up your extra deck completely. You need to run Makabas, you need to run Paraga Trios, really good card. And it changes the deck, but it's really good. This takes up your normal summon, but it allows you to make Makaba, which can negate monster effects or spells or traps depending on what you discard, and it gets you so much utility inside of the deck. Okay guys, now that we're on with that, I'm probably just going to show you a combo tutorial because I like you, and I'm just going to try to use whatever. So yeah, I lied. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I did decide to go against my word and show you guys some quick combos. Just one quick thing I want to tell you guys, unrelated to these combos, is that if you're having problems with your opponent setting up multiple negate boards, just play Winged Dragon Rot Sphere mode. You don't necessarily need the Danko set, because if they're setting up heavy monsters, they normally don't go with heavy back row. Winged Dragon Rot Sphere mode eats up your normal summon, but it literally breaks their board and allows you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you can go off with an OTK. This 3-card combo is going to require Black Luster Soldier, Phantom Knight Sky Blaster. You're going to need Mekk-Knight Blue Sky, but the Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall works, and your opponent needs to have 2 cards in the same column. This is an OTK, if not some really heavy damage. What you're going to do is special summon the Mekk-Knight Blue Sky to where your 2 columns point to, using its ability to add Indigo Eclipse and Red Moon from your deck to your hand, and then you're going to normal summon your Phantom Sky Blaster. Now, Sky Blaster is going to special summon 2 tokens to our side of the field. We're going to use one of the tokens and the Mekk-Knight Blue Sky for a link summon into Mekk-Knight Morning Star. Mekk-Knight Morning Star's effect is going to activate. We're going to pitch Mekk-Knight Red Moon from our hand to the graveyard to add World Legacy's Key from our deck to our hand. We're then going to follow up by using the token into a link summon into Link Spider, and then all 3 of these monsters for a link summon into Borrelsword Dragon. Use or banish the Phantom Sky Blaster and the Mekk-Knight Red Moon or Yellow Star if you decided to add that to special summon Black Luster Soldier Envoy at the beginning to your side of the field. From there, you can go ahead and activate World Legacy Key to add the Mekk-Knight Red Moon, and then special summon the Indigo Eclipse to your side of the field. Move it to wherever you think your opponent will be using a trap card or wants to get that trap card off, and then special summon Mekk-Knight Red Moon to your side of the field. This allows you to attack twice with Borrelsword, twice with Black Luster Soldier, Indigo Eclipse, and Red Moon. That is enough for a lot of damage right here. I mean, provided that he attacks a 0 attack monster, this right here is 12,000 damage, and then there's just icing on top of the cake. The next combo I'm going to show you guys is a great going first play. You do not need Rescue Rabbit to pop up with this combo, but it shows you the utility of Rescue Rabbit. You're going to need 2 Mekk-Knight monsters, one of them being any one, and then a Rescue Rabbit in your hand. What you're going to do is normal summon that Rescue Rabbit to your side of the field, banishing it, to special summon 2 copies of Mekk-Knight Avram from your deck to your side of the field. Use both of those Avrams for a link summon into your Mekk-Knight Morning Star, and then your Morning Star to pitch the Mekk-Knight Yellow Star from your hand to the graveyard to search World Legacy Secret. Go ahead and set that World Legacy Secret to your side of the field and special summon Indigo Eclipse. Now, this creates a really bad situation for your opponent. Okay, so the first thing is that when they summon a monster to any zone, you can activate World Legacy Secret to bring out your Yellow Star to negate whatever that is. And then the next thing is that you can move Indigo Eclipse into any other zone that you want to negate another monster's effect. You can put this in the extra monster zone, and then you only have so many other zones to occupy, as Morning Star already occupies a zone in itself. This puts a really bad situation for your opponent, and then what's even better about this is that you have 3 monsters on the board to just control how you want to play. It's a really simple combo, and every single Mekk-Knight deck can do it. Now, the Invoke combo can go a myriad of different routes. You can seriously do so many things, but let's say our opponent has 2 cards in the same monster zone. We're going to have Mekk Knight, Blue Sky, Aleister the Invoker, and Instant Fusion. And we're going to start off by special summoning that Blue Sky to our side of the field to add Indigo Eclipse and Yellow Star from our decks to our hand. Go ahead and normal summon the Aleister the Invoker, adding Invocation from your deck to your hand. And then you can use both of these monsters for a link summon right into your Aleister Invoker of Madness. So now we're going to put our opponent in a really bad position. I'm going to go ahead and use Instant Fusion, being able to special summon from my side of the field that Thousand Eyes Restrict, and then I'm going to use Aleister the Invoker, pitching Yellow Star from my deck or from my hand to the graveyard to add Book of Law from my deck to my hand. Now, the reason why it's going to be such a bad position, you guys are going to find out pretty much soon. Thousand Eyes Restrict can then absorb one of my opponent's monsters. And since I still have 2 monsters in the same zone, I can go ahead and special summon Indigo Eclipse to my side of the field. You can use these 4 monsters for a link summon into your Borrelsword Dragon, and then you can Invocation back, or you can Invocation to your side of the field by banishing your Aleister and a light monster, your invoked Makaba. So the reason why this is such a terrible situation for the opponent is because Borrelsword can attack twice, right? Makaba can attack once. Invocation is going to shuffle itself to the deck to add Aleister, but then you can also Book of Law your invoked Makaba into another fusion monster to attack again. That is an insane board. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, and if you didn't, let us know what we could do to be better. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.